February 20th. It is 8:23 p.m. local time here in Gilbert, Arizona. Why not go live? So what I'm going to do for those people who come in, and normally there's a lot of people that watch it after the live because nobody knows that I am live because I don't announce it ever, and that's my fault. So we're going to play a video to get this thing going, and then we're just going to hit in a bunch of different places, a bunch of spots like the Goldfield ghost town, and maybe out there to the Powers cabin. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics tonight. There's nothing else to do. The Olympics are pretty much all done. No sports on. We just watched the Coyotes win tonight against the Dallas Stars 3-1. So go Coyotes. Win number 13 only. So we're going to start this off with a quick video, and then we'll come in and we'll actually start talking about the topics. Hope everybody can hear me. You are my producers out there. So if it doesn't sound right, please put it in the comment section that doesn't sound right. Introduce yourself in the comment section. We already got 6 people on. We're live on the Arizona Time Was Tours Facebook page and the Arizona Time Was Tours YouTube channel. So here goes the video. I probably won't be right back after the video, but stay tuned, and we're going to have a good night tonight. I think this is going to be a good live. Let's hope it's a good live, right? Again, Sunday, February 20th. Let's put this up.
Yeah.
Did you know here at the Tucson train depot there is a statue of Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp? It actually marks the spot where Wyatt Earp killed Frank Stillwell on the 20th of March of 1882. Let's go check it out. All right. Got a lot of things going on here. Let's first talk about that site I just showed you. Hello to Lost in Phoenix. Anybody else is out here, just come on into the chat. Let us know you're here. It is the 20th of February of 2022. It is now almost 8:30 here in beautiful Gilbert, Arizona, in the great state of Arizona. Hope everybody is having a phenomenal Sunday evening. And hopefully most of you are off tomorrow. It's a holiday tomorrow. I know it is for those inside of this house. So I was thinking about heading up towards Flagstaff and stuff like that. But that is the worst time to actually think that you're going to get up. Interstate 17 is on a 3-day weekend, because that wouldn't be good. You get stuck up in Flagstaff. I probably wouldn't be a big deal going up, but it will be a big deal coming back down. So the video I just showed you, a lot of people don't know, there's a statue in the Tucson train depot that a lot of people have emailed me and sent me posts on TikTok stating that they've lived in Tucson their whole lives and did not know that Doc Holliday Wyatt Earp statue was up at the Tucson train depot. And I can understand that, because if you're not taking Amtrak and you're not leaving out at that depot there, unless you're visiting the train museum that they have in Tucson, you're not going to know about that statue. Now, why is that statue there? It was placed in the early 2000s, and the statue was it's pretty close. The shooting actually took place on the railroad tracks. So back in March of 1882, where Wyatt Earp took out Frank Stillwell on the railroad tracks in March of 1882. Now, they couldn't, of course, put the statue close to the railroad track, so they put it adjacent to the historical location where Wyatt Earp took out Frank Stillwell when they were transporting Virgil Earp back to California and Morgan's body back to California. They were only going to go as far as Benson, from Tombstone to Benson. And they got word that Ike Clanton and Frank Stillwell might be at the Tucson train depot, and they might want to stay on that train with Virgil and the body of Morgan to escort them to California. So they stayed on it from Benson. They took it to Tucson. They transferred everybody over. And then they found that Ike Clanton and Frank Stillwell were there at the train station. Now, we don't know really why they were there. Were they really looking for Wyatt and Doc Holliday and the Earp brothers? We don't really know. But we do know that Wyatt Earp shot up Frank Stillwell pretty bad. Most people that saw that body of Frank Stillwell said it was the most shot up body they've ever seen ever. And so they got that statue right there. It was to commemorate that point in history back in March of 1882 with Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp. I think it's a pretty cool hidden gem. And again, most people in Tucson, Arizona have no clue that it even exists. So go check it out if you get a chance. I'm just going through the old TikTok page right here. If you're not following me on any, obviously you see me here on Facebook and YouTube. But if you're not following me on TikTok, this is where 99.9% of all the new stuff goes to, is to my TikTok page at the Arizona Timeless Tourist. We're sitting at 163,700 followers, 2.2 million likes. And that video I just showed you prior to talking about the Wyatt Earp Doc Holliday statue at the Tucson train depot, we put that out here. And that got 189,300 views. So that's why we're big on TikTok. So follow me at the Arizona Timeless Tours on TikTok if you're not following me anywhere else. So we're going to go through a few of these. This is the best way to keep up is I'm going to just go through this TikTok channel and see what we posted. The last thing I posted was yesterday, and it was the some of the top cemeteries that I've gone to in the state of Arizona. Some of the top most famous grave sites that I visited. And one of them, if you ever had a chance to check it out there on TikTok, do check it out. It's my latest video. And we have gone, I didn't realize how many pioneer cemeteries I have covered in the last 4.5 years of doing this Arizona Timeless Tour social media thing. I've gone to a lot of them. The first one I think we got up there is Warren Earp. And the funny thing about it is people have this, like they're zooming in on this, and it goes right to the huge grave marker of Warren Earp. He was born in 1855. He's the youngest of the Earp brothers. He passes away in the shootout in the saloon in Wilcox, Arizona in 1900. And they look at it like, that's not true. Wyatt Earp is buried in California. He's not buried in Wilcox, Arizona. And I'm like, how come we're mentioning Wyatt Earp? It's this the picture is up close. The video is up close. It says Warren Baxter Earp. Okay, 1855 to 1900, perishes in Wilcox, Arizona, and he's in the Wilcox Pioneer Cemetery, the Wilcox City Cemetery. So people get focused in when they see Earp, they automatically think of Wyatt Earp, and that's not who it is. So we show Warren Earp, the youngest Earp brother. Then we show let's see here. Let me just kind of put this on mute so I can. It truly did amaze me at how many spots that we have gone to. So the first one is, again, yep, there it is, Warren Earp. The next one, we go out and we hit a few of the interesting, we show two of the interesting grave markers in Tombstone, Arizona, that people really like. We won't go over those. The next one up is the Lost Dutchman, Jacob Waltz. Then we show the gravesite of Johnny Ringo. Then the gravesite of Matty Blaylock Earp. And then John Behan, the sheriff of Tombstone during the shootout at the OK Corral. Charles DeBill Poston, the father of Arizona. High Jolly of the Camel Corps. Elliot Ferguson, a.k.a. Pete Spence, famous outlaw cowboy. Big Nose Kate, Doc Holliday's companion. Finn Clanton, the brother of Ike and Billy Clanton. Waylon Jennings we got on there. And then the last one is Little Robe Geronimo. And we do 14 grave sites that we've been to, what I call famous Arizona grave sites. So check it out. It's my last TikTok video. Man, that's 14. And I probably could have easily done at least 25. But that would have been, the video would have been too long for 25. But out of those, the Wilcox City Cemetery is just one of the most interesting cemeteries I've ever been in any state. Because Wilcox in that area, if you look at it from Google Earth, the Wilcox area looks like it's like a desert. It's white sand. It used to be underwater. So at some point, there was a larger lake in Wilcox a couple of thousand years ago. And as you go down to the Wilcox Cemetery, you'll notice as you're driving in white sand. It looks like you're driving on the beaches of Florida, of South Florida. And as you get to the cemetery, you got all the plants that are growing in the cemetery. You just have this unbelievable look that they should have. This is like a movie set. You have old headstones made of cement, of stone that are cracked. They're on the ground, and people put them together like a puzzle on the ground in the sand there, so you can actually read them. Then you have the old, weathered, cracked, splintered wood boards that are still standing, that are over 100 years old, folks. It's pretty amazing. Most of them are laying on the ground. You got some tumbleweed growing there. You got the desert plants kind of overtaking that area. And then what I don't like, what they done with the Wyatt Earp one is they went out there and they redid it, and they made this big, massive metal looking tombstone out there that does not go with that Pioneer Cemetery at all. So I wish I would have done something different with Warren Earp's gravesite, but understand that's the tourist attraction there. But I wish they would have made it look a little bit more wood, brought it down a couple of notches. It's pretty large. But anyhow, that cemetery out there is a one of a kind. So if you ever get the chance to get to Wilcox, Arizona, check out the Wilcox City Cemetery, the Pioneer Cemetery there. Look up Warren Baxter Earp, and that'll take you right to the cemetery. And take a look around. Every time I go to one of these cemeteries, I try to be as peaceful as possible, as respectful as possible. I know I'm going there for one or two people only, but it's really interesting to look through at all the other headstones and what they're made out of and how old the cemetery is. And that is an old cemetery, and it is a very unique. So check it out in Wilcox, Arizona. It's pretty awesome. It does. It looks like a movie set. It looks like no Pioneer Cemetery that I've ever seen ever in any state that I've ever been in, especially here in the Southwest. Little Robe, the son of Geronimo, who died at 2 years of age over there at Fort Bowie. That's where his gravesite is at. It's in Fort Bowie. So if you drive down there, you'll have to take a walk. It's roughly, I would guess, from the time you start to trail at Fort Bowie, it's almost a mile back to where you would get to the graveyard. And there's a lot of people, a lot of military people, of course, buried at the Fort Bowie cemetery. But Little Robe, again, the son of Geronimo, he was 2 years old when he died. The soldiers loved Little Robe, and his family was there, and while Geronimo was away, and it's a really interesting spot. So that's one of my favorite ones that I've been to. Waylon Jennings, everybody knows Waylon Jennings, right? And they can't believe he's buried in Mesa, Arizona. They're like, what is the connection to Mesa, Arizona? And that's on his wife's side, I believe. And he is buried around his relatives. The last name isn't Jennings. I believe it's the wife's side of the family that he's buried around. But Waylon Jennings in the Mesa Cemetery, right across the street from the Oakland Athletics spring training facility, their stadium right there is the Mesa Cemetery, and back there is the gravestone of Waylon Jennings. And it's normally not that tough to find. If you go there around 1, 2 in the afternoon when people have come out there already and they haven't cleaned the gravesite off yet, they're all flat. But his is a granite color, dark granite, but it also has most of your beer cans and whiskey bottles, Jack Daniels bottles, all over that. And sometimes you got somebody out there with a guitar sitting there playing his guitar and singing along at that gravesite. So that's a pretty interesting one, the gravesite of Waylon Jennings. And then you have Larcena Pennington Page. And a lot of people don't know Larcena Pennington Page, but her story is absolutely unbelievable. She was captured by Apaches. She was sick at the time. So when the Apaches captured her and a 10-year-old little girl, Larcena couldn't go on very far. The first couple miles, they knew that there was something wrong with Larcena. So they dumped her off, and they didn't just dump her off. They pretty much made her strip down, take her shoes, her jacket, her skirt and stuff off. And then they stabbed her numerous times and threw her off a ravine. And they're like, okay, I guess they thought, all right, well, it's snowy, it's cold, we're up in the mountains. We stabbed her about 16 times. We've thrown her off a small, down into a ravine, and she's tumbled down there, and she's going to die. And Larcena Pennington Page actually takes about 10 more days and makes it back to where she came from, and actually survives and lives a pretty long life. It's pretty amazing. So if you don't know the story, I have her on my TikTok page if you want a quick 40 seconds on Larcena Pennington Page. But her story is absolutely amazing, the survival that she has. And she lives 50 plus more years after that ordeal. Obviously, the Apaches thought that they had stabbed her enough, thrown her down the ravine, and that she would freeze to death. And she almost did freeze to death. It was a good thing that it was so cold, because she would wake up frozen, and she would have to wait for the sun to come up to unfreeze, and she would put the snow and stuff would seal up all of the 16 knife jabs that she got. It's the 16 wounds that she got from them, and that froze over to stop her from bleeding to death. But she's buried down in Tucson. Her story is amazing. And the sad thing about her story is the very next year, so just over a year later, her husband dies of an Apache attack. So she goes without her husband the next year. The lost Dutchman, Jacob Waltz, he's buried in downtown Phoenix at the Pioneer and Military Memorial Park. You know, the lost Dutchman that lost gold up in the Superstition Mountains. It all focuses around one man only, and that's Jacob Waltz. He passes away in 1891, and that's when the hysteria of the maps that he drew for the lady that was taking care of him, where the gold was, and since she couldn't find it with the group that was looking for it, she decided to sell that map, and it went crazy all the way to 2022, all the way to today, February 2022. People still believe in the lost Dutchman gold, and that it's back up in there in the most rugged wilderness. People don't understand the Superstition Mountains all that much. So according to the National Park Service and the Forest Service, that's the most rugged area. The most rugged of areas in the United States is back there, and in the Superstition Mountains. The wilderness is unbelievable. You can freeze to death back there, or you could dehydrate from the heat. You could be back there when it's 100 out, and it could drop down to 30 degrees. And you can just, when you're out there, people just get lost. They lose their bearings. They lose their ways. Even experienced people lose their way in the Superstition Mountains. It's the second most photographed thing in Arizona is the front of those Superstition Mountains that you can see from Apache Junction. You can pretty much see it. I can see it from my house in Gilbert, Arizona. You can great views of it over there at the Sky Harbor Airport when you're watching military aircraft come in. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's the second most photographed thing outside of the Grand Canyon. So Grand Canyon is the number one photographed place in Arizona. Number two is the facade that you see of the Superstition Mountains. A great place would be like Apache Junction, Goldfield, Ghost Town kind of area. But then we have the gravesite of Johnny Ringo. A lot of people get really into who Johnny Ringo was. Was he really that smart? Was he really that intelligent? Was he really that educated? No, he wasn't. He wasn't like, he wasn't portrayed like they portray him, at least in the movie Tombstone. You know, a lot of people like to quote, and they show him being this very intellectual. Now, he was well-read for his time and for his occupation and how he grew up. He was well-read. But that he could speak fluent Latin and stuff like that? No. We get way too much into the interpretations of movies in Hollywood than the real people. But Johnny Ringo has taken on a life of his own because of the movie, and with Johnny Ringo and Doc Holliday and Val Kilmer playing an unbelievable part in that movie. And so they bring that movie at the end to being Val Kilmer taking on Johnny Ringo, or I should say Val Kilmer, Doc Holliday. And so people today believe that Doc Holliday took out Johnny Ringo, and that's not a possibility. If you read the documentation, the court cases of Doc up in Colorado, and he had to be there, it shows he's there in person. He could not make it down by the 15th of April, that's when they actually found Johnny Ringo's body in the Turkey Creek area just outside of Dragoon, Arizona. So there wasn't a possibility of Doc Holliday making it down there to take out Johnny Ringo. So that's out. And then Wyatt Earp took responsibility for taking out Doc way later in his life when he's trying to write a book where he's trying to make money and all this stuff. Wyatt Earp, there's no way Wyatt Earp took out Doc Holliday either, even though he says it later on in life. Not earlier, not any time when he was young, but later on in his life, he said he took out Johnny Ringo. I believe that to be absolutely false too, by looking at the information. And so there leaves us two things of how Johnny Ringo died. He either committed suicide, which the majority of people and the plaque over by his gravesite believes that Johnny Ringo committed suicide. Now, some people will say, well, his holster was upside down. He actually had a hat on his head. He had a big chunk of his head taken out. He didn't have his shoes on. His horse was gone, and he's propped up against in the middle of this tree. That's when this teamster who was hauling wood back in April of 1882 found Johnny Ringo up against that tree. Last person to see him alive was William Breckinridge. Billy Breckinridge, William Breckinridge, deputy sheriff of Tombstone. And if you go back to the movie Tombstone, that's another one that they got wrong. They got Jason Priestley just being this kind of, I don't know, this weak character, this weak deputy sheriff portraying William Breckinridge. And that's not who William Breckinridge was. So the way they portrayed him in Tombstone to me is absolutely 100% incorrect. And a lot of people on TikTok and then the information goes, isn't that Jason Priestley character, that kind of weasel dude, that little dude that really, yeah, that's who portrayed William Breckinridge. But he was the last one to see Doc Holliday alive. He was riding past him. He believed Johnny Ringo was going towards Galeyville, to the town of Galeyville. That was the direction he was heading into, and William Breckinridge tried to get him to stop, but Johnny Ringo was so drunk, he actually gave him a bottle of his whiskey to take a slug, and when Breckinridge put it to his lips, it burned his lips. He wouldn't even drink the alcohol because the bottle was so hot. And he knew that Johnny Ringo was out there and he wasn't going to be able to stop him. So the last person to see Johnny Ringo alive would be William Breckinridge. And we didn't put William Breckinridge in these 14 that I show on TikTok of the most famous graves in Arizona. But he is a famous grave. He's buried down in Evergreen in Tucson. Probably the best pioneer cemetery by far in the state is the Evergreen Cemetery in Tucson, Arizona. Hello, Holly. How are you doing? So yeah, those are just some of my what I call the famous grave sites in the beautiful state of Arizona. So let's go and see what else we've put out there. I also put out a thing because people love the Johnny Ringo story. So I put the Johnny Ringo gravesite on there, who killed Johnny Ringo. And I said, we have a deathbed confession on who killed Johnny Ringo. And we do, whether you believe it or not. Billy Claiborne, who was there at the shootout at the OK Corral, but he ran away with Ike Clanton. So they weren't really involved in the main shootout. Billy Claiborne was shot by Buckskin Frank Leslie. And on his deathbed, Billy Claiborne said that Buckskin Frank Leslie killed Johnny Ringo. I saw him do it. So Billy Claiborne saying he was with Buckskin Frank Leslie back in April 15th of 1882 and saw him take out Johnny Ringo. So it is a deathbed confession, whether you believe it or not. Or the other thing is, Doc Holliday keeps saying that Johnny Ringo committed suicide, which I would say about 70% of the people believe that happened. So I will never know, but it makes for good movie endings, right? It makes for a good story, a good storytelling, but we'll never really understand how Johnny Ringo met his demise. I reposted a Tucson museum post 3 posts ago, and that was the gun of Geronimo. And I don't know if it's still on exhibit. This was over 9 months ago that I went to the Tucson History Museum, which is absolutely number one in the state, hands down. I've been to over 25 small and large museums throughout Arizona. That Tucson one is absolutely fantastic. I mean, not just in Arizona. I mean, I've lived in 6 or 7 different states. I've been overseas. I've lived up in Washington, D.C. for 3 years. That one down in Tucson is a must see if you get a chance to see that museum. But they have this gun of Geronimo. And a lot of people don't realize Geronimo was actually captured before he surrendered in 1886. Was it 1886, 1887 timeframe to the U.S. Army? He did get caught. He did by 100 Apache police from the San Carlos reservation. The gentleman John Clum, Indian agent John Clum, was heading up that reservation. He was the head of the Apache police force. The U.S. Army, I mean, Geronimo was still your pretty much U.S. most wanted back in 1877, and they couldn't get him. So he takes John Clum from the San Carlos Indian Reservation back in 1877, takes 100 of his Apache police. They go on a trek of over 400 miles and they set a trap and they actually capture. And I'll say it again, they actually captured. Geronimo did not surrender. They actually captured Geronimo without firing a shot because Geronimo did not realize that John Clum had another 80 Apaches with him. They only saw about 15 to 20 with this white Indian agent, this balding Indian agent, and they weren't gonna scare Geronimo and his warriors that day. And lo and behold, 80 more came out with guns pointed right at Geronimo and his warriors. And that gun that rifle that's in the museum is the very rifle that Geronimo surrendered to Indian agent John Clum back in 1877. And I have firsthand knowledge of the great grandson of that weapon that he remembers playing with it as a kid. They actually donated it back in the 80s to the Tucson Museum. So I do realize this is John Clum's great grandson that donated the gun back in 1980. So that is a pretty cool thing to go check out in Tucson. The Tucson History Museum, absolutely fantastic. Definitely the best one in all of Arizona. Probably one of the best in the Southwest, definitely. Now, I went down to the Goldfield ghost town about 8 days ago. And it was probably since I've lived here over 10 years, it's probably my 16th time to the Goldfield ghost town. Now, I'll put this out there so everybody who's a ghost town, a fanatic, yes, it is not a real ghost town. It's a tourist attraction, not a tourist trap. There's a difference. A tourist attract. Yep, there was the Goldfield ghost town right around that area. There are a lot of mines right around that area. You can take a mine tour. You can take a zip line with the kids. The reason the Goldfield ghost town is a great place to take, especially family and friends from out of town to, is it doesn't cost you a dime to park your car and to walk into the ghost town. The only time you're going to spend money is if you want to go on the zip line, you want to take the tour of the mine, you want to buy something in the gift shops, you want to buy a meal. Yeah, you want to play in the arcade that they have at the top for the kids. Yeah, it's going to cost you something, but they could charge you to park. They could charge you to get in, and they don't. And it's just the setting out there is absolutely fantastic. Now, I know there are people that live in Glendale. There are people who live in Anthem. There are people that live even in Scottsdale that think that coming to Goldfield and Apache Junction is like going to Florida, that it's this long 50-mile trip. Believe me, it's absolutely worth it. Check out the Goldfield ghost town. Let's see here. Let me just catch up on the, and I'm going to tell you why you want to go to Goldfield ghost town. There is one hidden gem. And we got over 103,000 views on TikTok the other day from this one hidden gem. And this is the second time I posted this post in the last 2 years. And you don't want to miss out on it because, again, it is the number one reason for me to ever go to Goldfield ghost town. And it's going to cost you $7 to see it. But I'm going to tell you about that in just a second. Arizona has so much history. Thanks for educating the people that have no clue. Thank you, Lost in Phoenix. I think I've seen you before on this channel, Lost in Phoenix. So it's good to see you. And again, it's good to see Holly. Let's put this up here. All right. What do we want to go see in Goldfield Ghost Town? They have a museum. So when you walk in, to your left, about the second building in, it says museum across the top. When you walk in, it does. It costs you $7. It used to be $5 like a year ago, but we're going through inflation. So but it's worth the $7. What else? They have all kinds of fossils from all kinds of animals and stuff like that. They have copies of the Lost Dutchman maps from the years. They have a Lost Dutchman Hall of Fame of all the people that try to go up and find that from the late 1880s, 1890s into the 20th century. They have the whole history of the Superstition Mountain Gold, the Lost Dutchman, who we just talked about his gravesite being in the Pioneer Military Memorial Park on Jefferson in downtown Phoenix. That cemetery, again, is 7 separate cemeteries, but it's under one umbrella of the city of Phoenix now. But anyhow, in that, you pay your $7, you walk in. I skip everything else. Again, I've probably been in the museum 4 times of the 16 times I've been to Goldfield. But if you go all the way around to the end, they have a you know what? Let's see if I got a picture of it in here. I just may. I think I do. I think I was smart enough to go into graphics here. Yes, I do. Here it is right here. This is what you're going to see at the end. A lot of people say, well, he was short. Well, he was 5 foot something, but this is from floor level. I mean, so it just looks like it's down. But you see this, and above it, it says that it was purchased from a Wells Fargo museum in Tombstone back in 1985. So it was purchased from the Wells Fargo Museum in Tucson or Tombstone? No, the Wells Fargo Museum in Tombstone, Arizona. It was purchased at an auction in 1985 by the Goldfield Ghost Town. And this is Doc Holliday's dress jacket. And they said it was probably worn numerous times to the Birdcage Theater and stuff like that, because that is the time frame. A lot of people think it's from, because I say in the thing, the Wells Fargo museum it was purchased from in Tombstone. They think that you can see this in Tombstone. Like you had to drive 2 hours and 45 minutes from the valley to see this. And most people are like, we've been to Tombstone numerous times. We love Tombstone, but we've never seen Doc Holliday's actual dress jacket. It's because you don't have to go all the way over there. You just go down to Apache Junction off of the 88. If you're going down the 60 East, you'll get off at Idaho. You'll take a left. You'll go to the 88. You'll take a right towards the Apache Trail. You'll go down about 5 miles on your left is the Goldfield Ghost Town. You'll go to the museum there. You'll pay your $7. You'll walk all the way around just about to the exit, and you will see what's worth every penny of $7 is Doc Holliday's authentic dress jacket acquired from the Wells Fargo Museum in Tombstone, Arizona, by the Goldfield Ghost Town in 1985. It's an unbelievable hidden gem. Get out there and check it out. Nose is running tonight, folks. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So another spot that I went to not too long ago is right here. My ugly mug right into the picture right there. I've been wanting to go to this forever. If you know anything in Prescott, Arizona, that I need to see historically, we know that all the Earp brothers, we know that Jim and Virgil and Wyatt and Warren and Morgan were all pretty much in Prescott, Arizona, just before they got to Tombstone. All right. We know this. We know that Virgil stayed there and he was like a deputy sheriff in Prescott. But there's nothing there historically to see there that says, okay, Virgil Earp was the deputy sheriff here in Prescott for over a year before he left and went to Tombstone. He became a deputy U.S. Marshal on the way to Tombstone down in Tucson. Okay, we know that they have some famous bars, but Whiskey Row is burned down. It was all wood is burned down. It's not original. The only thing they can say is original is one of the bars, a Brunswick bar that they believe that back in the day that like Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp and the Earp brothers and these famous people sat and drank at. Can they authenticate that? I don't know. They do show it outside after a fire hit Whiskey Row. I don't know how many times, but that's one of the reasons that I'm not a huge Prescott fan. But I went for this, the Arizona Pioneers Home Cemetery, and this is the grave of Big Nose Kate. Now, this really takes me back because we have so many Tombstone and Wyatt Earp movie from the 1990s that everybody knows who Big Nose Kate is. She is the travel companion of Doc Holliday. But it's amazing when I put this TikTok out, I thought for sure I had a no-brainer hit of 100,000 quick views in 24 hours. And it probably got like 20,000. And most people did not know who Big Nose Kate was. That flipped me out. I'm like, I didn't even have to explain it. Somebody says, we love watching your videos because you explain to us about everybody. And I'm like, I didn't think I needed to explain who Mary Cummings was, who Big Nose Kate was. But next time I repost that, I do. But this is the gravesite of Big Nose Kate. She ended up at the Arizona Pioneers Home Cemetery. Now, we all know she was born in Budapest, right? And she really didn't qualify to live out the rest of her days. I believe she lived to be 90 years old, live out the rest of her day at the Arizona Pioneers Home Cemetery. Those were for Arizona residents who were down on their luck, who didn't have the money to live anywhere else. And so she really didn't qualify, but she went to the governor, the 7-time governor of the state of Arizona, Governor Hunt, George Hunt, and he over time authorized Big Nose Kate, the travel companion of Doc Holliday, to live out the rest of her days and be buried at the Arizona Pioneers Home Cemetery in Prescott, Arizona. And really, I talked to the guy that takes care of this gravesite, and let's bring this down here. When I was pulling out, there was a gentleman up there. I said, "Do you work here?" Because it's very small. You pull up, there's a little turnaround, and you come right back down and out. And I was talking to him, and he has lived for over 25 years in Prescott, Arizona. And I said, "What historical thing am I missing?" He said, I never understood it, because the way he put it is, why are all these people coming to visit this prostitute's gravesite? That's pretty much what he said. And he's 100% right. She was a prostitute. We just know her as, pretty much Doc Holliday's common law wife, if you want to call her that. And that's how she became famous. And we talked about, the Wyatt Earp sensation and the Doc Holliday thing. And, he's like, no less than 8 people per day, no less than 8 people. And they're never the same people. It's not like someone's bringing people on tours. No less than 8 people per day. And sometimes a lot more than that. He's like, come out here to see the grave of Big Nose Kate. And they get in the car and they turn around and they leave. He said, we don't have any problems with people, but that's what they're doing. I got a lot of stuff going on in this house. This was like a live that my son's probably like, where's he at? Where's dad at? And my wife's trying to explain that he's live. But anyhow, I can hear him through the outside, though. He must be walking around out there. So the guy, I talked to him again for 20, 25 minutes outside my Jeep. And he really couldn't give me. He's like, look, you can go to Whiskey Road. That's not original. You got the historical markers on it, but it was not original to the time. It's been rebuilt numerous times because of fires. He's like, and I said, well, and I don't know this for a fact, so somebody can help me out. I said, is the Capitol building, the Capitol building used to be in Prescott. I said, is that building original? He believes that was rebuilt also, so that's not original. And is it Fort Whipple that's up there? I'm thinking I'm right. That's been closed for the last 2 years due to the pandemic, and it's still closed as of today. I looked online and says it's still closed to the public. So can't go to Fort Whipple and check out that Apache Wars kind of fort place in that museum there. So there's really no other reason for me to go back, but only to see Big Nose Kate. So if I'm missing something in Prescott, please tell me, and I will go and check it out. Let's go back over to the chat area here. Appreciate the real Arizona history. Well, thank you there so much. Is that Fubar Ranch? Am I saying that right? Fubar Ranch. So I think that's what it says. Christine Stewart's on late night, man. Have to be up at 3 a.m. Yeah, that's early. When I get up to do these things, this is some of the reasons people will not go out with me to explore, is I like to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, no matter if it's Monday through Sunday, get out the house by 5:30 and be on the road. So something doesn't take me all day. That's what I did when I went to Prescott, and I left here at 5:30, got there at before 7:30. It was like an hour and 49 minutes. Did that and was out of Prescott by 8:30 and was back home by 10:45 in the Valley. And that's I want to say it's 119, 120 miles, so 240 mile round trip. Love an early start, not a 3 a.m. though. Who doesn't know who Big Nose Kate is, right? This Christine, this absolutely took me aback, because I really thought my TikTok page is fantastic. I mean, it's doing fantastic is what I should say. I'm not fantastic. The content is doing unbelievable. And I was like, that's a quick 100,000. There's no doubt about it. And I'm going to go back through this. And yeah, I'm thinking We're at 18,900 views on that thing. And other ones like Breckenridge, 375,000. Doc Holliday, Doc Holliday, we got Doc Holliday's right here at the top, 902,300 views. And I'm like, why wouldn't Big Nose Kate be one of those big videos? And because everybody asks me, have you been to Big Nose Kate's grave? And I'm like, no. There's nothing else in Prescott that I want to get to. And finally do it. And it really was a little disappointing on TikTok. But I'm glad I went out there, documented, saw it, saw the gentleman who ran the cemetery. And again, he couldn't even, 25 years up in Prescott, he couldn't even give me another spot to go to in Prescott that would be worth my time. So I got out of there before all the major traffic hit. And kind of like if I was to have a final resting place, who knew back in the day when Big Nose Kate perished that she'd be looking. There's a huge car wash below the cemetery. You could just hear the car wash constantly. It's like it would be no more than 50 yards away from Big Nose Kate's grave, and then straight ahead's a Starbucks. Yeah, I am a huge Starbucks guy. Not that they've been closing a lot of them lately. They've kind of made me get off of the Starbucks fix, but there's Starbucks right in front of you, and then right to the right of her gravesite is about 150 yards away is a Walmart. It's really interesting what that location looks like today compared to when she passed away. And again, she lived to 90 years old, folks. Think of her occupation, like the guy said. Why does all these people want to come see a prostitute's grave? And that's where we got into the conversation. And she lived to be 90, coming all the way from Hungary. Okay. So let's put some stuff up on here. Captions. Look, if anyone ever has a question for me, there's my email. Anybody can email me, deanb7010@gmail.com. Real quick, we do tours of Florence Monday through Sunday, one at 10 a.m. and one at 1 p.m. It's a 90-minute historic walking tour. You'll get with me. I'll tell you what it costs, where we're going to meet. deanb7010@gmail.com. We got some awesome new coins coming in. We've given away 500 of those poker chips with the tours and stuff on them. People seem to really like the poker chip coins. I thought I had one right around me here, but I do not. My wife is a huge help. We ordered 1,000 more. They should be here in 2 days. And what you can do is you can take the phone, it's scanned in the back. And once you scan it, it brings the TikTok page up. But inside my TikTok page up on top, it says schedule your tour today. Email me at deanb7010@gmail.com. And it's got my YouTube channel on it. So people are going to be able to scan the chip. Because when they're out, they're like, well, your email's on here, but what are some of your social media links? And I have the ATT, the Arizona Timeless Tourist, and the AZTT. And some people don't know what the AZTT is. I'm not Nike yet, so you don't look at the swoosh logo and think, when you first saw it, think Nike. Well, you're not looking at the AZTT thinking of the Arizona Timeless Tours. So it's going to make it a lot easier for people on site to find all of my social media, to find my email link, deanb7010@gmail.com, and to find my YouTube channel. YouTube channel is about dead. I just load YouTube shorts, and all my YouTube shorts are my TikTok videos, and they get 500 to 1,000 hits. So I spent a lot of 4 years and thousands upon thousands of hours putting into that YouTube channel, and along came TikTok and just blew the YouTube channel away in views. We have over 66 million views on TikTok, and I think we have a total of 375,000 views in 4.5 years on YouTube. Tells you where you should go if you want to be on social media. All right. So we talked about Big Nose Kate. Let's see where else we've been. We talked about Doc Holliday's jacket. We talked about Warren Earp's gravesite, William Breckenridge, Big Nose Kate. We talked about the Tucson train depot with the Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday statues that they have there, because that's where they took out Frank Stillwell in March of 1882. Really a pretty unbelievable historical spot that they've set up at the Tucson train depot if you get a chance to check it out. Let's see here. We talked about a lot so far. Goldfield Ghost Town. Yeah, let's see what else we have here. Let's see what else we got going on here. Let's see if we got anybody else in the chat, because we have been rolling now for 50 minutes. We just hit 50 minutes live. Let's see. Oh, we got a lot more here. What we know. I wish people did know this. It just doesn't resonate with people when they look at the coin. And what's crazy is I was out at the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, where they have the observation area, where they have the breweries there, and they have that little area where you can watch all the military aircraft Monday through Sunday up there. And I went out there early yesterday morning, and there was some Navy jets ready to be taken off, but they never took off. So I was just like waiting for an hour and 15 minutes up there. And I met somebody, and they were up there, and they dealt in World War II airplanes. And the guy was my age, been in the United States Air Force, and we were having this chat back and forth, and he says to me, what is it you're doing up here at the Tripod? I said, I have a social media platform, a couple of things that we come here. We get about 1,000 people live on TikTok when these planes start taking off. And he's like, well, what's the name? And I said, the Arizona Time with Stewards. And he looked at his wife, and it felt like an eternity, but it was about 8 seconds of silence. And it was awkward. And he looked back at me. He said, I was out here about 3 weeks ago, and we have these old World War II plane stuff over in Falcon Field, and we have a couple closer to Luke Air Force Base and some buildings that we've acquired, and trying to get the word out. And I was over here, he said, about 3 weeks ago, and a guy had me write down a name of somebody to get in contact with to kind of try to push this stuff out. And he showed me, it said the Arizona Timeless Tourist. So that was pretty cool. So the word has gotten out across the valley. I'm definitely well known on social media at Starbucks, because a lot of young people are on TikTok, and my face is plastered all over. But so I gave him one of my chips, one of the older ones. But it'd be great when the new ones come in, they could just scan it and go right to where they have to get. So both of the sisters look like they're on tonight, and it looks as though Catherine, Kristen and Catherine. Catherine, it looks like you changed your profile picture from what I can see here. That's why I didn't recognize you when you actually came in, and I'm just reading off this stuff. I'm like, yeah, there's just a change of a profile picture up there. Can't really see it from here, but let's go into the to the graphics again and see if there's anywhere I missed before. Maybe we cut this short. It is a Sunday night, but most of us are off tomorrow. Son's off school, so that means I'm sleeping in. Let's see what we got going on here. Talked about that. I also do this. So anybody out there watching, this is going pretty good. We go TikTok consults, 20-minute consultation, $50, tips, tricks, and questions. I've done this for a gentleman, and he's doing absolutely phenomenal on TikTok. I've been on it for 15, 16 months. We're pretty successful. I mean, for social media, 163,000 followers in 15 months, over 66 million total views. We got a video that has 8.6 million views on it. Another one has 900, another one at 800. We've kind of figured out the algorithm to TikTok that changes all the time. So you can really get a jump start talking to somebody or doing a consult with somebody like the Arizona Timeless Tours before you launch out a TikTok. And you don't have to be like me, have to go like 40 TikToks in before something actually turned up for good. So we do TikTok consults. Does anybody know who this lady is? Well, now you know, because their name is up at the top. Pauline Cushman. Her real name is Harriet Wood. If anyone wants to know about her, I've talked about her numerous times on here. I'm going to give you guys the option. Like, have you ever been to a Billy Joel concert? Went to a Billy Joel concert 2 years ago, and Billy Joel has like 4 billion hits. So he'll play 3 of the hits, and you're like, which one do you want to hear? And he'll go by audience participation. So you might not hear the song by Billy Joel that you really want to hear. But if anyone wants to talk about Pauline Cushman, the spy for the Cumberland, the female spy, we can talk about that. Let's see here. Where else are we at? This here is the Pleasant Valley Wars cabin, the bloodiest Family Feud, not the Hatfield and McCoys, in the United States. Lasted from 1882 to 1892 with just around 50 people taken out in that feud. It's also known as the Tewksbury Grand Feud, and that is the John Tewksbury cabin that was put there, was relocated there, that was built in 1880. It was part of the Battle of Big Dry Wash. Apaches raided that cabin twice. We have that. We talked about Johnny Ringo. I'm just going by what pictures we have here, and we got the escape tunnel from the 25 German POWs who escaped Camp Papago back in December 23rd, 1944. We can talk about that and the location of that in Scottsdale, Arizona, along the Crosscut Canal. Here's what's on the front of those coins that people don't know: the AZTT. That's our new logo, trying to get it to that Nike logo kind of thing where it's very simple and people see it and they're like, yeah, that's that Arizona Timeless Tours guy. Someday we'll get there. This is Painted Rock off of Interstate 8 if you're going towards California. This is one of those places that if you're like me and have gone to over 30 petroglyph sites and gone down roads that I probably shouldn't have been going down and going down washes just to find a couple petroglyphs here or there, this is an unbelievable amount of riches of petroglyphs at the Painted Rock. It's owned by the Bureau of Land Management. Really an unbelievable location. Get out there and check it out if you do. Here is a picture of those two statues at the Tucson train depot. On your left, with the gun pointed down, is Doc Holliday. With the gun pointed up is Wyatt Earp. It's supposed to be just right adjacent to where they killed Frank Stillwell in March of 1882. So if you're ever in Tucson, check that out. Also going up, if you're ever going towards Sedona, Arizona, and you're off, what is that? Just had a brain dump here. The exit 298, is it? It's the same exit. If you're not taking the scenic route off of the 17, you're taking this one and you're going left and you go about 9.5 miles before you get into Sedona. Instead of going left, you'll go right for 2 miles and you'll come to a place called the V-Bar V Ranch. It is a historical area. It costs you $5 to park there. It's just a little parking spot in the dirt. They have one of those Red Rock Pass machines there. And you purchase it for $5, put it in your car, no matter how many people are in your car. You walk a 1 mile path that's absolutely beautiful, level, and you come to the best preserved petroglyphs in the Verde Valley. And there is somebody that stays on site 24/7 to guard this location. They do tours there. They're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only, I believe. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Unbelievable location. The V-Bar V Ranch. Check it out. These petroglyphs are absolute. This is just like a sliver, okay? A sliver of a huge wall that's been preserved, and they call them the best preserved petroglyphs in the Verde Valley, the V-Bar V Ranch. Let's see here. What am I missing? What is this here? The Globe Cemetery, folks. We do tours. If you want to hire me, we offer on Monday through Sunday if I'm not in Florence. So you'll just email me at that beautiful email I gave you at deanb7010@gmail.com that I'll put back down in the section here in a minute. We do tours up there also. We stop at and look at two gravesites at the Claypool one. And one of the two is we're not 100% sure on it, and nobody is. And that is the grave of Pearl Hart. There's a lady named Pearl Bywater that they believed that Pearl Hart that a lady who was taking this 1940 census up in the Globe area came across this lady, believed that she was actually the Pearl Hart, the famous female bandit from the 1899 stagecoach robbery out of trying to think of the stage route. But anyhow, Pearl Hart story. One day I finished a book on Pearl Hart, blew me away. Just blew me away. There's so much to her life, and it's so heart-wrenching and terrible, and how her and her sisters lived their lives, and it's absolutely heart-wrenching, and it's a terrible story. But you need to learn the whole story of Pearl Hart, not just where did she get the name Pearl Hart? Because here's a quick nugget. Pearl Hart's real name, and this is a trivia. This wins a trivia contest with someone because I guarantee they don't know. Is Lily Davy, Davy? Lily Davy is Pearl Hart's real name. This lady was married so many times, and she had so many common law husbands and truly real husbands getting married legitimately. But those names didn't. Pearl Hart came from neither of those. None of the 5 or 6 marriages that she had from the time she was 15 to the time she was like 22. They didn't come from that. It came from a pretty hideous place. And her sister took the last name of Hart, and Lily Davy took the whole name Pearl Hart. And yeah, it's just an unbelievable, heart-wrenching story of this family of 10 kids and how they all lived out their lives. But Pearl Hart's supposed to be buried there. I don't think she is, but we do check out that cemetery also. And then we go up and we check out the grave of Al Sieber. Al Sieber is one of the greatest scouts during the Apache Wars that this country has ever seen. And the guy's life should be in film. There should be a film on Al Sieber. He's born in let's see here, in 1844, and in Germany, to like 9 other brothers and sisters. A few of them perish. Their dad perishes when he's like 2 or 3. The mom's story is extraordinary. She gets 7 of the living children on a boat. They come across the Atlantic Ocean, folks, in the early 1850s, end up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for a little while, and then live out the rest of their days in Minnesota. He joins the 1st Minnesota during the Civil War, fights in the places like Gettysburg and Chancellorsville and some of these major battles. He becomes this famous scout during the Apache Wars. There's a lot to Al Sieber, and that's why you could fill an easy 90-minute movie on this guy. He's buried at the Globe Cemetery along with Glenn Reynolds, who was the sheriff of Gila County up there in Globe back in 1889, I believe it was. He was transporting 9 Apaches to the Yuma Penitentiary. One of the Apaches escaped, killed him, killed the other deputy that was with them, shot the driver through the throat, but he lived. That's how we have the story. And one of the individuals that was being transported was the Apache Kid. All the other Apaches were caught. The Apache Kid was never caught. That's where his legend grew from the time when Glenn Reynolds, the sheriff of Gila County, is transporting him back in 1889. His burial is up there, and he's buried next to like his 1-year-old son or daughter is right next to him. Really an unbelievable son. Finn Clanton is buried up there, the brother of Ike and Billy. Finn was in a lot of stuff in Tombstone. You just don't hear his name as much. When the Earps wanted to go after the Vendetta ride because of Morgan's death, Finn Clanton, they believed, was involved in it. So was Pete Spence. Pete Spence was buried originally right next to his buddy Finn Clanton. This is the cowboy gang of Tombstone, Arizona, horse thieves, wrestlers, making Tombstone in the Southwest just unsafe at the time. So many bandits and people buried up there. Then you have the Buffalo Soldiers, like 8 of the Buffalo Soldiers are buried up there. Really an unbelievable cemetery. Let me throw my email up here if you want to schedule a tour of that up in Globe. That's roughly, we meet in Gilbert. So from here on the 60 East, it's roughly 74, 75 miles one direction. All right. So, you got roughly 70. It takes you about a little over like an hour and 15 to get there, hour 15 to get back. So that's 2.5 hours of driving, over 150 miles. So it's about a 5.5, 6 hour days to check out 2 grave sites. But the first one, again, is in Claypool before we get to Globe. And when we're up in Globe, we look at 7 or 8 different people up there. And then as you wander around that cemetery, it is the second best pioneer cemetery in the state of all the ones that I've been to. You can get with me at deanb7010@gmail.com and schedule a tour of those places. Again, we do them Monday through Friday. That one you'd have to leave. We have to leave, like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, so we get back before rush hour. But Yeah, let me just throw the rest of this stuff up here. There we are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and we do have a podcast at the Arizona Timeless Tours. I think we got 40 or 44. I think it's 44 podcasts out there. And the last podcast is talking about it's labeled "Who Moved the Stone." It's about Pete Spence, aka Elliot Ferguson, who became known as Pete Spence, was on the Vendetta ride of Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. They took out Frank Stillwell first at the Tucson train depot, and then they went after Pete Spence, but he was smart enough to turn himself into a local sheriff's office so that they couldn't get to him. But we talk about that on the most recent Arizona Timeless Tours podcast. All right. Let's pull this down here. Let's go back into the chat. Yeah, boom. Christine says, Kath, talking to the sister, I guess, here. I'm totally into the petroglyph stuff. I'm going to relook at this. Yeah, petroglyph sites all over the great state of Arizona. The best one being the Sears Point petroglyph site. Now, not the one of the most difficult places to get back into. You don't go when it's raining. It's in a very remote place. So, but the petroglyphs, the best petroglyph wall in the state of Arizona is at Sears Point. Let's see here. Let's go through some of these real quick. Throw some of this stuff up here while I get some of this caption stuff off of here. There we go. We'll get that off of there. All right. Oh, this is here. Here's speaking of Sears Point. There is Sears Point. There's just a partial wall. I wish I could bring it in a little bit closer for you, but I didn't even know I had that uploaded on here. It must have been on here forever. So what you see there that I'm pointing to, there are 3 more panels like that along the side of this cliff. Absolutely, unbelievably magnificent. Sears Point petroglyphs. Let's throw this up here. Boom. There you are. Book a tour today and experience all the history Arizona has to offer. Book a tour at deanb7010@gmail.com. Does anybody know what I'm standing on there? If you've been following me long enough, throw in the comments, what am I standing on right there? What historical... There are many of these throughout the valley that still remain. But what am I standing on there? Let me go into the chat and see if anybody comes along and can tell me what that is. Anybody? I'm going to leave it there for just a second. Yeah, you know what? We're closing in over an hour and 7 minutes here. That is located in Casa Grande, Arizona, and that was set up back in 1959. The United States government launched the Corona Spy Satellite Program. Talking about Corona back in 1959, the Corona Spy Satellite Program. And between 1960 and 1967, they laid out a 16 by 16 mile grid in Casa Grande of these targets. It's a cement. They look like Maltese crosses from the air. And they set up 272 of them in a 16 by 16 mile grid out there between 1960 and 1967. And really in the early 1970s, they stopped using the program. And but even into the early 1980s, it was still classified and people didn't know what these targets were, because really back out in the 1960s, this part of Casa Grande is out in the middle of no man's land as it is. Now there's farmland, so people have noticed them. But they placed 272 of them. There's probably over 80 of them left. And there's probably about 25 of them that are in absolutely beautiful shape. And they were meant for the 144 satellites they launched up during the Corona Spy satellite time from 1959 to 1967. They needed a way to calibrate the cameras on those satellites. So somehow, some way, they did it by putting these targets down on the ground, 272 of them from 1960 to 1967. This is a really, really unbelievable piece of Cold War history here in the great state of Arizona. We got it all here, folks. We got it all. We got World War I. We got World War II. We got Cold War. We got all of the 53 what are they called here? Missile silos. 52 missile silos across the United States from, I believe it was from 1963 to 1987 when this last one was decommissioned. 1963, so the time of John F. Kennedy, to 1987, of Ronald Reagan's end of his presidency, we had these 52 missile silos on alert 24 hours a day underground with the unbelievable Titan II missile located on them. We could talk about that forever, but let's take this off of here. Yes, I want to get you one of those. I want to get you an AZ. I want to get you one of those coins. All right, let's see here. Let's pull this off of here. Capture chat, graphics. All right, we'll take that off it there like that. All right, folks, we are 1 hour, 11 minutes. 11 minutes. I wasn't really planning on going this long on a Sunday night. Some of us had to get up, I see, at 3 a.m., so I wouldn't want to be one of you getting up at 3 a.m. tomorrow. I do have a huge trip planned for this Friday. That's a 6 o'clock start with the guy I'm going with. I have to go with the gentleman. We are going to cover some locations that I've been wanting to cover for a year. I've been into the Powers Ranch, the deadliest shootout in Arizona history, May 10th, 1918, with Jeff, Tom, and John Powers, all over the draft. We talked about this, last time we were live. That actually was watched a lot. I thought I was bored, but a lot of people watched that one on the deadliest shootout in Arizona history. People are like, it was the OK Corral in October of 1881. I'm like, no, it wasn't. 3 people died there. 4 people died at the Powers Ranch on a cool morning of February 10th, 1918. The Powers boys and their father and the daughter, Ola May, are buried out in a place that I want to get to that's very remote. It's in Klondike, Arizona, in Rattlesnake Canyon. And I don't even know why I'm telling you that, because I'm not going there. We're going to go to, I get these mixed up all the time. We're going to go to the bloodiest feud in U.S. history. We're going to go to where all these people on the Tewksburys and the Grahams and the Blevins, all these people that were taken out are buried in the Young Cemetery. The Young Cemetery is 3 hours in a remote area that we're going to drive out and hit that cemetery. Then we're going to drive 90 minutes from there to get to Young, Arizona, to check out a cemetery up there. And then to check out where the Blevins family had a shootout with Commodore Perry Owens, one of the most famous shootouts in Arizona up there with the sheriff, Commodore Perry Owens. You know, Commodore Perry Owens was named after, because it's such an interesting name. His mother was a history buff, and he's named after a naval officer from the War of 1812. Then we're going to swing over to the Apache Death Cave, maybe Canyon Diablo. Then we're going to hit maybe Stand on the Corner in Winslow, Arizona. Then down through Flagstaff to hit the Commodore Perry Owens gravesite that's in the city cemetery in Flagstaff. So there's like 7 places, but that is, let's see here. It's 3, it's 4, it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 11, just over 11 hours of just driving. So from the time I leave to make that big round trip all the way around and back down, it's just over 11 hours. And that's not the time stopping at the cemetery and Young, stopping at the cemetery, the other cemetery. It's not stopping there. It's not stopping in Winslow. It's not stopping at Canyon Diablo or the Apache Death Cave. This looks like it's going to be a 16 to 16 and a half hour day of hiking, pictures, video, grave sites, pioneer cemeteries, historic homes, shootouts, all this stuff. And I'm going to be completely whipped. I need a buddy to go with. Somebody has agreed to go with me at 6 a.m. I'm like, well, if you can't go earlier, I'll take 6 a.m. But, 6 to 6, it's almost we're not going to be back in down the valley. So 6, probably to 11 o'clock, 11:30 that night, coming out of the mountains down into Flag, because from Flagstaff to Gilbert's 3.5 hours. So it's going to be an unbelievable time, but the amount of the footage that I'm going to get, the history I'm going to capture, it's a once in a lifetime trip around. And it's, I think if I had to guess, it's just, let's see here. It's 1, 2, it's right around 500 total miles for the trip. So, people wonder what I do. This is what I do. So I can come out here and talk live. That I can throw it on TikTok. That we can get sponsors, and we can keep this thing going and these tours up and going. The tours have slowed down. So please, if you know anybody who wants a tour, we have nothing scheduled for tomorrow and nothing scheduled. So that's Monday, which is a holiday. People are off, and Tuesday. If you want a Pioneer Cemetery tour up in Globe or a Florence, Arizona tour, get a hold of me at deanb7010@gmail.com. Let me throw it up here really quick for anybody who's watching it at the end. Right there. Contact me Monday, Tuesday, 10 a.m., 1 p.m. for the Florence Historical Tours, 90 minutes. And then we do the, it's going to be about 5.5, 6 hours to go to Young and Claypool and Globe to do the historic Pioneer Cemetery tours up there. It's 152 mile round trip from Gilbert. Let's do it. Get them in there. Let's keep the Arizona Timeless Tours going strong. Please get it out to as many people as possible. Tell them to follow the TikTok page. We get a lot of great sponsors. Our last one was the tent sponsor, and that was awesome. The tent was great. Everything was great that we did with that. So, that's it. That's all I got. Let me go over to the chat, make sure we didn't miss out anybody. Yeah, you guys are great. The two sisters. Hopefully we can do a tour soon. Get you some shirts and some coins. Until next time, folks, please direct people to the Arizona Timeless Tour social media pages. I greatly appreciate it. Let's put this one on there. Until next time, take care. Stay safe.